I hope at some point we can have that focus, have the same type of focus that we have on COVID for this disease of addiction.
Let's have a conversation about stories. There is power in your story, power that can positively impact another person in ways you may never know. At Inspired Woman, the stories people share help change lives every day. I'm Marcy Narum, and this is Inspired Woman Conversations. Welcome. My guest today is First Lady of North Dakota, Kathryn Burgum. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Inspired Woman Conversations.
Well, it's so great to be here with you today. Thank you so much for your interest in this topic that we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, so people are familiar with Recovery Reinvented. That is your project, and maybe just give us a little update on what that is and what that has been like in this pandemic that we are all living in.
Sure. Well, Recovery Reinvented is really a movement. It started out as an event, and we had 500 people get together, I guess over 3 years ago now, to focus on how we could sort of innovate recovery and think more about recovery in North Dakota. And it's really turned into a movement with a lot of people in a lot of different initiatives. And, we've had 3 separate Recovery Reinvented events now. And we've given away a lot of awards for people that are doing incredible work in this area of recovery and addiction and treatment. And so I'm so grateful to have this opportunity as someone who is in recovery for over 18 years now. This is not anything I ever thought I would be doing in my life. So I'm so grateful for the opportunity. And so related to what we're facing now in our state that, everybody else is facing is the current COVID crisis. And with Recovery Reinvented, what I'm doing as First Lady, I could let you know, first of all, is that we're promoting on my social media many different ways for people to get connected. I mean, really, this is an opportunity to be connected to others in ways we never really thought possible, or in ways that weren't part of our normal everyday life. We've all maybe become a little bit more tech savvy, and I know I have. I'd never used Zoom before and barely used, FaceTime. So, the opportunity to get connected is one of the things that I'm focusing on as First Lady through my social media, and promoting all kinds of resources out there for people that need help, whether it's mental illness, anything related to behavioral health, also recovery, addiction, treatment. We are promoting whatever we can on social media. And we also have a link to resources on the recoveryreinvented.com website that we're promoting also.
I noticed that there is quite a list of resources there. Are any of them new that have been a result of the pandemic?
Yes, for sure. There are a lot of new resources. I mean, we are basically working very closely with our behavioral health team. I've always considered myself the marketing arm of what our behavioral health team is doing in our state. And they really know the different types of people we have in our state and what different types of needs and resources they have, or what they need. And so the behavioral health team has created lots of different opportunities, including one special location on their website that is all targeting COVID. And a lot of what they're doing is helping people navigate this current new normal that we're all living. They're helping parents, with through their program called Parents Lead, with how they can talk to kids about this current situation. How to talk to kids in high school that, may not have a high school graduation, had to forego all their spring activities, just lots of great resources, and really making it a reality for what's happening now. Those are great resources. There are all kinds of nonprofits out there, including groups like Shatterproof and lots of online recovery groups. You know, there's a lot of nonprofits and these types of recovery groups that are also posting relevant material to what's happening now. And so I would say those are some great resources. We've also added resources from groups like Hazel and Betty Ford. I'm on the board at Hazel and Betty Ford. They have all kinds of resources available that they're offering for free, that normally aren't free, that people can access through their website. So, you know, there definitely are resources now that are more focused on the current situation. Some of them have been around for a while, some of them are new, but, you know, everybody's trying to, I think, do what they can to help people that could be very isolated right now. And, you know, especially related to addiction and recovery, you know, which is an isolating disease. And we need to be promoting these resources and helping people as much as we can.
Yeah. Have you had any indication of an increase in calls from people, or, you know, concern about there being an increase in maybe people relapsing during this time?
Well, you know, in my office, I haven't had a lot of calls, but, you know, I think our behavioral health team is getting more calls than usual. You know, even as I watch the news across the nation, you know, they're talking about them, you know, 10 times more calls that different groups are getting. And so I think it's definitely an increase in people needing resources. And in North Dakota, April is sadly, you know, sort of the month that we have the most suicides in our state. It's, you know, sort of hard to believe that sometimes when winter seems like more of a struggle, but yet, you know, mental health doesn't necessarily, you know, isn't seasonal. So, you know, I think that, so even more so with the COVID situation, you know, more people hopefully will be reaching out, or more people may feel the need to reach out. So I think that we are doing a pretty good job in the governor on his daily briefings. You know, he very often spends time on behavioral health and you know, getting those resources out to people, and it's just so important. And I'm so grateful that he is so focused, and we're like very you know, we're very connected and have a deep partnership related to what we both want to do related to people that struggle in mental health and behavioral health areas.
What would you say to somebody who maybe has never had a problem with addiction, or, you know, has been able to be a social drinker, but this has been too much for them, and because of this, the isolation and the loneliness that they're feeling, would you have any words for them?
Yes, for sure. You know, it is a struggle, and it, you know, especially for people that have a tough time being isolated. You know, there's a lot of extroverts out there that, you know, this is especially tough time. Maybe some introverts are like, oh, hey, this is like the new normal. You know, this new normal works for me because I'm like that. But I think there are a lot of people too that definitely need help. And I guess I would say that, you know, there's a lot of, again, resources out there. There are a lot of places to get connected. There's a lot of recovery support. And just reach out, you know, start Googling on the internet, you know, figure out yourself, you know, is this kind of becoming a problem for me? Or, you know, is this sort of this current situation? If it's kind of one of those things where, because I don't believe that everybody who, you know, drinks wine is an alcoholic, or everybody that takes pain medicine, you know, is addicted to, you know, pain medicine. But I believe that, you know, sometimes people cross a line and it may be difficult to go back. So I think it's an opportunity to evaluate that, but, you know, it's also an opportunity to sort of say, okay, every day I'm going to wake up, I'm going to have a list of goals for this day. Here's what I want to achieve, you know, and to be good to ourselves too, and sort of say, you know, this is a time, you know, I've never really done yoga before. I can do that online. You know, I can read a book. I can watch a movie. I can go for a walk. You know, there's a lot of other things that people can do besides, you know, self-medicate, you know, when you're isolated. But I also believe that, you know, some people, you know, that I do know that, you know, I think I read somewhere that, you know, alcohol sales is up 55% across the nation, you know, from when we started this situation. And I think that, you know, that's one indication that, you know, people are, maybe needing that type of, to lean on that more. And it, certainly can be a problem for people. But again, if anybody out there is struggling, there's there's AA resources, there's a lot of 12-step resources, a lot of Hazel and Betty Ford. There's a lot of places in North Dakota at our behavioral health website. We've also got listings for treatment centers and anywhere like that. And, I certainly would offer my help also. You can go to my First Lady's site at the governor's website or nd.gov and, connect with me. I'm on social media also, and I'm available to help also.
Kathryn, thank you so much for taking time to share your insight and your wisdom on this. I think having somebody like you share your story and being willing to talk about this helps with, diminishing the shame and the stigma, and that's a huge gift for our state.
Well, and I think you hit the nail on the head, because, it's hard for people who are struggling and feel the shame and the stigma like I did. It's hard to make that first call. And we know that 1 in 10 people that need help for treatment don't seek it because of the shame and the stigma. But this is a time when, it's easier than ever to reach out to so many different resources. I just encourage people to do that. I also want to say that, we have this focus on the importance of COVID, which is so important. And it's so good that our nation has a real approach to this. But we've had an addiction crisis in our nation for what I believe is an addiction crisis. Really the focus started with the opioid crisis, but we have the 80,000 people dying every year from the impacts of alcohol addiction. We have 75,000 people dying from opioid overdoses and drug overdoses. So, I hope at some point we can have that focus, have the same type of focus that we have on COVID for this disease of addiction, because, there's a lot of different ways we could be helping so many people across our nation if we had, more media focus and more focus on that as well. So, there's always hope for improvement, and I believe that we will get there someday with eliminating the shame and stigma. And you are helping, because you invited me to speak with you today, and we can get the word out together. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. That was very, very good perspective to put that out there, that COVID is something, it's something new and different that we're facing, but the addiction problem has long been, and we'll continue to battle that. So thank you so much again for your time, and stay well.
Thank you. You too. Take care.
Keep up with all the Inspired Woman conversations at inspiredwomanonline.com. Subscribe to the Inspired Woman YouTube channel, or follow us on Facebook at Inspired Woman, and on Instagram and Instagram TV at Inspired Woman by Marcy. We'll see you next time for another Inspired Woman conversation.